We live in a world where we're being sold this idea that we can have it all. Especially as women, we're now being sold this idea. Not now, but we have been sold this idea now for a while that you can have it all. You can be a mom, you can be a boss, you can have your own business, you can do it all. You can have it all. I want to talk about this today because I think it's problematic, to say the least. And I want to talk about some alternatives to that mentality, I guess. Being told that we can have it all, we can do it all, we can be it all is a product of our society that we live in now, and the way everything is advertised to us, the way we consume everything, and the way we're really fooled into thinking that this is true. We watch people online who have it all together, seemingly, and we think, yeah, I can have that too, and I want that too. And we're sold this unrealistic lifestyle, and a lot of us become depressed and frustrated and angry when we feel like we can't do it. We feel like there's something wrong with us and we're not good enough, we're not working hard enough. And it's interesting being part of what society is now, and seeing how the culture is unfolding. I see people who are reacting to what is referred to, I guess, as hustle culture, and this grind it out, do everything, do it all, have it all, right? Because eventually I think you will crack. I don't care who you are. We are only human. Unless you are a superhuman, alien, crazy person, eventually you're going to crack. You can do it all maybe for a while, but it's not really sustainable. And if it's not sustainable, is it really worth it? Is it worth living this life if it's just temporary, or if you're going to end up being burnt out? Because to me, that's so simple. It's like, no, why would I do all that if I'm just going to experience being frustrated and give up on something? But what I do think is interesting is talking about prioritizing, right? Sometimes in life we have to put certain things on hold. And that goes for the bigger stuff too. Maybe if you want to have a child and you want to be a parent, maybe it's time to cut back on some work, put certain projects on hold, and wait with certain things to focus on being a mom or being a father, being a dad, whatever. Because again, the idea that you can have it all, do it all, be it all is super unrealistic. Ultimately, that's going to be my stance on this, and I just don't see how it's healthy either to have the mentality of like, I can have it all and do it all, because we're only limited to our capabilities as humans. It's possible to think that you can do anything, right? Because our brain is very powerful. We can convince ourselves of everything. We can convince ourselves of anything, I should say. And yeah, I can have this. I can do all this. And I tend to be unrealistic with what I can do in a day even. I'm like, oh, tomorrow I'm going here. And then after this, I'm going to tackle this project and get all this work done, and then I'm gonna go get a great workout in and make dinner, and I have this whole list of things. I'm like, that's easy. And I'm 27 and I still struggle with this to this day, about being realistic about what I can do in a day and cutting down and saying, okay, let me just prioritize these 2 tasks or these 3 tasks, and here's one other thing. If I get to it, great. Because that's realistic. I have to start looking at myself as a person and understand that I can't do and be everything that I want to do, or be every day, all the time, 24/7. I have to stop just to rest. I have to just be sometimes and just decompress, unwind, and relax. That's fundamental. We can avoid our health. We can avoid, I don't need this. I could just take a bunch of energy drinks and skip sleep. I can just, not eat meals and all. You can make all those decisions, but eventually it's going to catch up to you. I want to talk about sacrifice. in this mentality that we are sold that we can have it all, I think the biggest thing that we're missing is telling people that, well, it's not true, because you have to sacrifice things in life. You have to sacrifice certain things, people, events, lifestyles in order to get what it is you want. Sometimes it's a temporary sacrifice, but sometimes it is a sacrifice for your overall life. I look at people who live maybe unconventional lives, and I say unconventional comparing to the stereotypical suburban life. You're married, you've got children, nuclear family, send them to school, go to work, 9 to 5 type of life, because that is the standard. That is most American lives, at least, and most people across the globe, that's what life looks like. So when I say unconventional, I'm saying a person who didn't want kids, or just dedicated their life to traveling, or to something that involves them not being home a lot. If you want that kind of life, if that is what you truly desire, you know it's been inside of you since you were a child, this is what I want, this is my passion, I have to do this, then it's going to take sacrifice, right? You're going to sacrifice probably certain family events. You're going to sacrifice maybe having children, if it's not even part of your plan, then I guess it's not really a sacrifice. But you might even sacrifice a romantic relationship, at least a conventional one, where you spend a lot of time together. You might get lucky and find someone who is willing to do long distance, or maybe travel with you, whatever it is. But I just don't see a life that doesn't involve sacrifice, no matter how you look at it, right? Hopefully it's for a greater gain. And sometimes we have to stop and remind ourselves of that when we're in the midst of something. And you might be a point in your life where you're focusing on school and you're very dedicated. You're trying to become a doctor, and you're spending nights studying, and you're working really hard towards this goal, and you have a vision of what you're trying to get to, and you might sacrifice going out, seeing your friends, having time to spend. But if you look at it and really focus on what you're trying to do, then you can remind yourself that it's a temporary sacrifice, right? If you're trying to work towards a goal, then a lot of those sacrifices become temporary, because you know, okay, it's just for a few months or for a couple of years that I really have to stay focused on what it is that I'm doing. But overall, in life, I think that you're going to have to sacrifice something. Because if you want to get married, you're going to sacrifice being single, right? Quite simple. I'm saying it, but it's like, you're like, oh, duh. But that's the truth. You can't live a single life and be married. That's why I don't get people who want open marriages. I know now I'm coming off judgy, and I'm not judging. I never come from a point of judgment. You're wrong, I'm right. How I live is right. How you live is wrong. That's never my angle. But I just say certain things because I'm confused about them. There's certain lifestyles and things that I don't understand. Open marriage is something I don't understand, because then to me, I'm like, why be married? Because the whole point of marriage is that you have a reliable partner that you are committed to, and what you guys have is sacred, and you have this bond, and you do things together. I mean, yes, especially sex, right? That is like the main thing that people consider, that's you can't do that with anyone else. But there are other things too that are involved in the intimacy and the connection that you only have between the two of you. And if you have an open marriage, that contradicts that, right? And then I'm like, well, how is that a marriage then? Then you're just a single person hooking up with whoever you want. Maybe someone else can comment on that. I know there's people who feel that we're not meant to be monogamous, and that's unnatural. So this is polygamy is a more natural way of being for humans, and I can get on board with that. I would actually agree with that. We aren't by nature designed to be monogamous, but there's a lot of benefits to monogamy in our current society and what things are and how life looks. There are definitely benefits in that. So what I'm getting at is that it's a choice. Whatever life you choose, you have to remember that it's choice. And I think more people need to have conviction in their life. They need to look at things with like, okay, this is really what I want. This is really what I believe in. Because if you just mindlessly do things and, well, I'm supposed to do this, or I'm supposed to have kids, or this is what my parents did, or this is what society says I'm supposed to do, I don't think you're really going to end up happy, because your life is the result of whatever you thought you were supposed to do instead of what you really wanted. So if you haven't figured it out for yourself, I think it's worth taking some time to feel it out, especially if you're young and you haven't committed to some certain lifestyles yet. Then it's worth taking that time to figure out, what is it that I really want? And the life that I really want, what kind of sacrifice does it involve, and am I okay with it? Really look at that and say, okay, well, if you, for example, if you are somebody who is a very well-rounded person and you don't want to be in a relationship that makes you feel tied down and that you can't do anything or go anywhere, and because your partner's more of the clingy type and they want to see you all the time, well, first of all, I don't think you two are meant for each other. Sorry, but sometimes we do have to look at life that way. I love this person, they're great, but they're just not for me. And we have to be honest in that. But I had to stop to make sure I was recording. For a second, it didn't look like I was, because I did a whole episode where I didn't record, and I learned from that lesson, and now I'm super paranoid and scared that I'm going to do it again. Ooh. Anyway, wow, I just had, when your heart kind of skips a beat, like that little heart attack moment. I just had that. Let me recover from that a little bit. So dramatic. Anyway, sacrifice is part of life. No matter what you choose, no matter what life you want, it's going to require some sacrifice. We just can't have it all. It doesn't work that way. Like I usually say, you can't have your cake and eat it too. And it's true. That is a true saying, because the society that we live in now is telling us, it's challenging that idea, right? As I was saying, our current society that we live in is now challenging this idea of you can have your cake and eat it too, or that you can't. Wait, what is the phrase? You can't have your cake and eat it too. That's the phrase. And society is challenging that. It's saying, no, you can have it all. You can have it all. And I say, BS. You can't. It doesn't work that way. And not, at least in an honest sense, right? I can't think of any lifestyle or way of being where you honestly can say that you have it all in a full way, right? Because something is going to have to give at some point. Again, maybe it's not a forever sacrifice, but the idea that you can be a parent and be fully present and give your kids everything they need, while simultaneously you have a career that you're super focused on, and then you have a really strong group of friends and friend circle, whatever, where you travel all the time, you do all the stuff with them, and then you also have this hobby and this business that you create. Like the list goes on and on and on, right? And the idea that you can be fully present in all those things is a lie. I just don't think it's honest to say that. I think you can have a little bit of a lot of things, but not everything. And I think we're fooling ourselves if we tell ourselves that we can, and we're just going to end up exhausted, burnt out, frustrated that we couldn't do it. And I don't think that's worth it at all. But again, no matter what you choose, there's sacrifice. If you choose marriage, then you're sacrificing polygamy or being not monogamous, right? Like if you choose a monogamous relationship, then there's certain ways of being that you have to commit to, and you have to respect that relationship that you've created. And if you don't want that, if that seems like, nah, that's too much for me, then don't choose that. That's the whole point of what I'm getting at today, is finding what works for you. Don't just buy into an idea that's been sold to you or you've been brainwashed with or because your parents told you or whatever it is. Really sit down and figure out for yourself, what lifestyle do you want, and ask yourself what sacrifice it involves, and ask yourself if you're okay with that. If this is the life I choose to live, am I okay with the sacrifices involved? Because a lot of people get frustrated when they go into something. Say you marry somebody, right? I think this can tend to happen in relationships. Let's say you marry somebody who's very busy, who works a lot, and you're okay with it at the beginning because it was clear that this is what it would be. And then at some point you get married and years down the line you start getting frustrated that you're not getting enough time with them or whatever it may be. And to be fair, this is complex because things can change too. They can become even busier or start neglecting you more than they did at the beginning. So I understand that it's complex, but just on a fundamental level, if you decided to be with somebody really who's super busy, then ask yourself, does that work for you? Are you the kind of person that's very focused yourself and you have your own career that you're very focused on and you find a way for that to work for the both of you? So really look at that and see and weigh it. It's okay to change your mind too. By the way, we change our minds all the time as humans. We live a certain lifestyle and decide, nah, this wasn't for me. And I think that's okay. I think it's always okay to change your mind and change course and say, okay, well, I tried this wasn't for me. I thought I was okay with it, but now I value something else. And when I was younger, I valued my career, and now I want to focus more on my family, or vice versa. Whatever it is, that's okay too. I think I've made my point here today. I kind of just had a little shorter episode today just to talk about sacrifice and understanding the significance of that, and understanding that you can't live a life without some sacrifice. If you'd like to challenge that idea, feel free to do so. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Maybe you've found a way to have it all and do it all, and that's fantastic. I just think from a realistic standpoint, it doesn't work the way it's been sold to us. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. Take care of yourself as always, and I'll be back for more.